This book is the type that will be either loved or hated by most people. It is insanely creative in structure and method, and the subject matter is sophisticated for sure. But I have mixed feelings about the book in general, and I will provide some basics for it and give you some aspects that I do think are worth getting the book, and maybe it'll encourage you to explore it as well. So stay tuned. Welcome to biblioCultist, where I review books that I find interesting in the topics of religion, philosophy, history, and fiction. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, like the video, share the video, comment on the video. I appreciate those that do so already. On the bottom, I will put my X account, and on the side, my Ko-Fi, which is where you can find my merch store, and you can also donate a single, tip, or a recurring one if you want. And no matter what you do, as long as you share the video and like it, and you help out in the process of growth, then you're really helping the channel out. And if you like it, please do so. I appreciate it. In this episode, I'm going over House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. This edition is a hardcover from 2000 by Pantheon Books. And if I understood it correctly, it is the second edition, which has a lot of the cool elements that make the book worthwhile. Unlike other books, this one requires a particular type of printing because it has collages and interesting ways of printing words that the edition will change things, including text that is struck through and coloring in the text itself, blue, red. So there's a lot of intricate aspects of the book itself that require good printing. So make sure you get a good edition. Now, like I just mentioned, the book is structured in a weird way because without giving too much out, it is basically two stories going on at the same time. So you have the primary text, which is part of an intricate backstory that is led by another narrative that kind of runs simultaneously throughout. So that is actually very interesting, but it takes a lot of particular discipline in reading it because you have a lot of notes, which itself is the secondary narrative text. And then you have multiple elements in the appendix and back notes that kind of reference forward. So you have to jump around the book a lot, which is fine. My graduate studies involved a lot of footnotes and a lot of side reading and this kind of technical skill. This book requires you to engage the footnotes because that's where you find the secondary narrative. So the premise of the book is pretty cool. It's very academic, and in one aspect it's all fiction, or is it? That's kind of the fun aspect of it because they do combine elements of truth. Some books that are referenced are real, some are not. So it really puts you in a mood that creates the confusion, which I think it's part of the whole gimmick of the book. So be aware, and I would say that's actually the most enjoyable aspect of the work. Because of its dynamics, you have two main stories. Now, the basic premise is in this following quote, which I think sets up the entire book. Nevertheless, regardless of how extensive his analysis is here, Heidegger still fails to point out that unheimlich, when used as an adverb, means dreadfully, awfully, heaps of, and an awful lot of. This has always been a condition of the weird and unsafe. It is overwhelming, too much or too big. Thus, that which is uncanny or unheimlich is neither home nor protective, nor comforting nor familiar. It is alien, exposed, and unsettling. It is, in other words, the perfect description of the house on Ash Tree Lane. Now, as you can see, the main aspect of the book that kind of carries it all through is a house in the main narrative, which is itself an academic study of a documentary regarding this house. So when I first started reading, I thought it was cool. It's a classic haunted house or weird house kind of underlying component, but it takes it in ways that you would not expect. But here you have the philosophical core, which is the notion that the eerie the empty spaces, the unlimited openness of things can be also dreadful and horrifying. And I like that because for a person that has studied horror as a particular genre, this falls right into that. But there's an existential element to the horror that I think it's wonderful. So that aspect I actually did like. This book is also clearly an exploration of the maze labyrinth motif, which I actually discussed in a previous book, and I do love a lot. Albeit the structure of the book, which is the one that really carries the book through because it's what makes you navigate it in a maze-like way. The main narratives are all kind of piggybacked on this notion. And although I think it's very interesting and fun, I do believe that the potential of the book was stunted by the narratives, especially the secondary one, because I think it's so casual that it erases some of the magic. And even though it has certain things that reminded me of Philip K. Dick, I wouldn't dare compare it because it's difficult to compare with such a genius like Philip K. Dick and the sophistication that Philip K. Dick brings to this type of kind of casual, postmodern approach to existence, kind of 1960s and 70s dreadfulness. This book carries that, but I don't think it's comparable. And I think maybe that's what makes me feel that secondary narrative is lacking a lot, because I don't think it's sufficient to pull off a commentary on the primary narrative, which I think is a lot more sophisticated. You'll see what I mean when you read it. There's also a discussion on the philosophical implications of a center of a maze. The idea that certain concepts or certain elements of existence have a true center, but that those centers are outside of the perceived center. In other words, when you're in the maze, you are not aware of what the center is or where it is. But when you're looking from the outside, it is very easy to identify, to localize, to perceive the center. So that to me is a great thing to ponder on because of the implications that it has. For example, if you have a theological system, what is the center of it? Is it God or is it the institution? And you could argue that both are, right? Like if you have a location like in Catholicism, which is Rome, or Islam, which is Mecca, that is a center of sorts, but simultaneously the center is outside of that center, which is Allah or God. So which one is truly the center? It's a fascinating thing to consider. And this book makes you think about it. And just for doing that, I think it's very valuable. When it comes to any approach towards an actual theological consideration, here's a quote. Do you believe in God? I don't think I ever asked you that one. Well, I do now. But my God isn't your Catholic, varietal, or your Judaic, or Mormon, or Baptist, or Seventh-day Adventist, or whatever, whoever. No burning bush, no angels, no cross. God's a house. Which is not to say that our house is God's house, or even a house of God. What I mean to say is that our house is God. Now, the reason that's a cool quote is because the implication, once you know about the house, is that God would be a void, an emptiness, an open hallway of always, as Charlie would sing. So, just considering that notion, again, nothing new under the sun. This is a very popular conception in the modern world of painting God as a sort of void. Atheism, at the end of the day, it's basically that is a negation of an affirmation. I can affirm that nothingness is from which we come, which makes it a God of nothingness, but there's still an ontologically identifiable entity from which everything comes, which is the nothing. And I sometimes get the feeling that modern literature is a black hole of time itself, that time is such a concerning aspect of a world where theology is dying, where philosophy is relativistic, where our existence itself is questioned, where everything is solipsistic, then the consequence is confusion about everything, including confusion itself. And while I was reading the book, I was feeling this way. What's kind of the point of this book? I tend to feel that way when I read modern books. There's a sense that everything is absurd and that really there's no point to things. But then a quote comes and actually addresses that in a particular way. Quote, Who has never killed an hour? Not casually or without thought, but carefully. A premeditated murder of minutes. The violence comes from a combination of giving up, not caring, and a resignation that getting past it is all you can hope to accomplish. So you kill the hour. You do not work, you do not read, you do not daydream. If you sleep, it is not because you need to sleep. And when at last it is over, there's no evidence, no weapon, no blood, and no body. The only clue might be the shadows beneath your eyes or a terribly thin line near the corner of your mouth, indicating something has been suffered. That in the privacy of your life you have lost something and the loss is too empty to share. Ironically, there's something about that feeling that is connected to how you feel at the end of this book. It is meaningful, it is powerful, but at the same time, you ponder what was the point. Philosophically, to Steelman, the author, I think maybe that was his point. To make you go through an experience in which you consider the value of time and the meaning of its disappearance, kind of like a Tibetan mandala. So this book is a perfect picture of modernity, a complex mass of systems that are filled with a void, an emptiness that is constantly recalculating its route. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Books are there to encourage you, to motivate you to think, and to join you with another mind so as to see things from a different perspective. And the way the book is structured and the multiple dynamics and the narratives will do that for you for sure. At the very minimum, it is a very entertaining book to actually handle and read through. So if that's something you are into and you do want to think about these things, then I suggest you get this book. I liked it as a totality. So hopefully you enjoyed this review and appreciate you watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, like the video, share the video, comment on the video. Thank you for being with me. See you next time.